in our committee, we passed cap and trade on the House floor. It went from our committee back to Nancy Pelosi's office to make her changes to it, and it came to the House floor. And again, that was one of those bills that was rewritten and the Speaker's office brought to the floor. Had a substitute that was 300 pages that we all had like 5 hours to read. If we found out it was released at 3 a.m. But I won't go into those type of details because that sounds somewhat partisan. But the point was that we went directly from cap and trade on the floor to, in my committee, dealing with health care. So obviously, in the Energy and Commerce Committee, my committee, we had the energy bill, or cap and trade. I call it lack of energy bill. But then we went into health care. And that's when I think the people, or a lot of people, it finally broke for them. It's just like, wow, this is hard to get our mind around. There's so much that Congress is doing, and they're doing it so quickly that we even wonder whether members of Congress know what's in these bills. And I think the answer to that question, because I get asked that quite a bit, was no. Because we haven't, for something as important and dramatic as these are, in their impact on everyday life of everyone, that I'm not sure we understand the intended consequences, let alone discovering the unintended consequences or vetting that through a real debate. So anyway, we move into health care. We have a healthy discussion in our committee. We break it up over a couple of different weeks. We spent about 50 hours in debating several amendments. I had several amendments. The two that I like to talk about is one that said if the public option exists, all members of Congress and the White House have to be in the public option. They can't remain in the Federal Employees Health Benefit program. That lost on a straight line party vote. The next one I brought up with co-sponsored by about half of the committee was recreating the Federal Employees Benefit Program and saying everyone can opt into this program. It's the exact same. As a matter of fact, the language was that it has to be identical to ours that I have and my staff up here has, although we may have different plans because we get choices and options. And because there's 9 million people in that federal employees group, I bet you ours is a little cheaper. And so I thought it'd be a good one because it gives individuals access. That actually fared a little bit better. We were 1 vote away from winning. I had 5 Democrats support me, and one whose names I won't say here said that he was going to vote for it, and then when he found out if he voted for it, it would pass, decided to vote no.
Oh, go ahead, tell us his name.
Anthony Weiner. And it was funny in the debate, I actually used his statement on the floor about why we should be doing the federal employees plan. I thought that was fun. That's the old lawyer trick, you know, use their words. So that actually had a lot of appeal, and a lot of Democrats that voted against it came up afterwards telling me that they kind of liked that idea. And as a matter of fact, Harry Reid threw that balloon out, which worried me about what But then I actually drafted that up into a full-fledged bill, introduced that bill, and then introduced that bill as an amendment to the health care bill when it was coming to the floor. And I'll give you a little bit of a civics lesson for some of our younger people here. The way the House of Representatives works is every bill and any proposed amendment goes to the Rules Committee first. So when a bill says, okay, we're going to put the health care bill up on the House floor next Wednesday. Well, what the Rules Committee then meets the night before. And if I want to introduce an amendment, I don't hand it to the House clerk. we have to submit it on Monday to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee then reviews all amendments, and it's the Rules Committee that decides whether or not there will be amendments, and if so, which ones. Now, this is under all administrations and speakerships. The speaker gets 7 appointments to the Rules Committee. Minority gets 4. So on the Rules Committee, it's always 7 to 4. Well, I shouldn't say always, but when the speaker says, since it's her people that she puts on there, just like it was Denny Hastert's people that he put on there, the speaker basically sets the policy. And so the speaker's policy was no amendments on the floor, except one, the Bart Stupak on abortion, because there was a big enough group of pro-life Democrats that said, I won't vote for this bill unless the Stupak language is in there. They made a deal that if she brought it up for an amendment, that they would vote for the end product regardless of the outcome of the Stupak amendment. That was the only amendment allowed. So my amendment was ruled, well, they just voted no, so I didn't come to the floor, as they did the other 100 amendments that were put in. So we vote on health care. You know the outcome of that. It took them until October. In fact, it was the Nebraska-Oklahoma game. When we were actually voting on it, it was, I cast my vote on that with about 2 minutes left in the game. Don't ask me the date. I can just tell you it was the Nebraska-Oklahoma game because I'm in the cloakroom listening to the debate and the radio on the computer. I have dual loyalties here. So then the House of Representatives goes in straight from health care to another fundamentally changing bill, which is the, let's see, Consumer Protections Consumer Finance Protection, CFPA, the acronym. It's the Consumer Protection Financial Act, which creates a new federal agency. And what it does is allows the original act, before there were some carve-outs, said this new agency in the name of consumer protection would have to approve every financial transaction. So, for example, banking. This agency can come in and say, you're charging too much for your checking accounts, or you're charging too much for your ATM fees, or whatever. They gave the government then carte blanche to come in and set all of the policies. Now, smaller banks got exempted from this somewhat, at least the direct day-to-day interference. But what this did, and frankly, like all bills, there's good things in there that I would have voted for had it just been that good thing, which is making the larger institutions have a higher capitalization ratio similar to what regular banks have. That was part of it that I thought was just common sense. But this was just in the same philosophy as the cap and trade and health care. It created and centralized a lot of power over everyday transactions with the federal government. As you all know, some disagree with me, some agree with me. I'm not a big proponent of growing government, especially the level of